I watched them struggle, helpless, from the glass-walled office on the 55th floor. Their company, once a fortress of influence, was crumbling. The numbers were brutal, cash flow negative, investors panicked. And yet, they didn't know it was me, the quiet competitor who had quietly, relentlessly built the empire that would bury theirs. It wasn't supposed to be like this. At 18, they told me I was smart enough to make it on my own. They handed me a suitcase, a smile that didn't reach their eyes, and the door. Meanwhile, my sister got a full ride to Harvard, an engraved plaque of favoritism. I left with nothing but determination and a promise to myself: never beg, never borrow, never forget. I remember the first time I noticed it, an innocent enough conversation at a family dinner. The way they bragged about my sister's scholarship, the casual dismissal of my own struggle. I had just landed my first internship. They didn't ask, didn't care. The contrast burned. Love, favoritism, betrayal disguised as advice. It took years to turn that fire into a weapon. I didn't react. I learned. I watched their moves, studied their markets, listened to their investors' complaints like a shadow in the room. They were predictable, blind in their arrogance. Meanwhile, I was building mine, a tech startup, lean, invisible, untouchable, growing in silence until it became the real threat they'd never anticipate. The moment I realized their empire's weakness, that was when it became personal. Their flagship product was failing, their competitors hungry. And in a calculated twist of fate, my company, anonymous but formidable, was the one ready to step in. Every deal I signed, every contract I negotiated, I did with surgical precision, a chess master watching the king's every move. I didn't gloat, not yet. I waited. They invited me to a family reunion, unaware I'd already acquired a controlling stake in their main competitor. I walked into their marble-floored mansion with the same calm I'd practiced in front of my mirror 1,000 times. They smiled, proud, unaware, arrogant. "Look at you," my mother said. The same words they'd used to dismiss me at 18. "All grown up. I hope you've made something of yourself." I smiled back, controlled, perfectly measured. "I have," I said. The confrontation didn't need shouting, it needed evidence. I handed them the quarterly reports. Their faces shifted. First, confusion, then disbelief, then the pale horror that spread like frost over every feature. They understood too late. The company they had always underestimated, the one they assumed would never challenge them, was now in my hands. I didn't say a word. The silence spoke louder than any accusation could. I watched them grasp at the pieces, fumbling through contracts, investors on the line, their empire dissolving faster than they could comprehend. Every calculated move I'd made over the last decade, every startup launched, every acquisition had been aimed at this moment. I had beaten them at their own game, but silently, intelligently. No need for theatrics, no need for confrontation beyond this. They realized their arrogance had blinded them. Their favoritism had created the person capable of dismantling it all. And then they looked at me. Really looked. For the first time since I left at 18, they saw me. Not the smart enough to make it on my own child, not the overlooked sibling, but the force that had quietly taken control of their world. I left the mansion that evening, the city lights stretching beneath me like a river of opportunities. No gloating, no threats, just the satisfaction of watching justice executed with precision. 10 years of silent strategy, patience, and relentless focus had culminated in this: my rise, their collapse. I had been underestimated, ignored, dismissed, and now I was untouchable. They had wanted to see me fail. They had rooted against me, laughed at my struggle, and poured every advantage into my sister while leaving me to fend for scraps. 10 years later, the irony was absolute. I didn't just survive, I dominated. And as I stood on my balcony, watching the skyline shimmer, I finally allowed myself one thought, sharp and clear. They should have never kicked me out.